Imagine a world choked by an endless, suffocating night. Before the flick of a switch, there was only the dying breath of a candle and the absolute, terrifying vastness of the dark. But in the pulsing heart of the 1890s, one man dared to break the laws of physics. He didn't just study lightning, he enslaved it. Nikola Tesla, a name that hums with the power of God in the very wires of your walls. Do not look away. July 10th, 1856, a night when the sky over Croatia tore itself apart. The midwife trembled, calling the thunder an omen of darkness. But his mother, she looked into the fire in the sky, and she whispered, "No, he will be a child of light." Young Nikola didn't see wood or stone. He saw geometry. He saw the ghost of machines before they were ever built. He could run a motor in his mind for weeks, until he could feel the heat of the friction on his phantom skin. While other children played in the dirt, Tesla played with the invisible. He was a boy possessed by logic, sketching engines in the dust that wouldn't be built for 100 years. He stood at the window during great storms, not in fear, but in recognition. He saw the lightning as a brother, a raw power, waiting for a hand to guide it home. By his teens, the world began to vibrate. He saw the trees not as wood, but as conductors. He realized that the earth wasn't matter, it was frequency. In the cramped silence of his attic, he built his first small generators. Tiny sparks jumped from his fingertips, the first heartbeats of a new civilization. Others could only dream, but Tesla could feel. He described his mental inventions as so real. He could hear the whine of the metal. He was building our world inside his skull. Every small shock was a lesson. Nature does not give up her secrets easily. He learned to dance with the voltage, to master the hidden forces that most men spent their lives fleeing from. His sketchbooks looked like alien hieroglyphs. He wasn't just inventing tools. He was inventing a new language for the earth to speak. He knew that failure was just a distorted frequency. When a coil burned out, he smiled, because now he knew exactly where the universe had said, "Not yet." When he left Smiljan, the horizon didn't look like land. It looked like a circuit. He carried nothing but his mind and a burning desire to show the world that the night was optional. His imagination was his true home, a laboratory where gravity was a suggestion. He was ready to challenge the old world and bring the fire of the gods down to the people. He refused to follow tradition. He dismantled every toy and every theory. He wasn't looking for how things worked. He was looking for why they couldn't work better. Every spark in that attic was a step. The boy from Smiljan was gone. The man who would light the world had arrived at the Polytechnic in Graz. Tesla was a ghost, working from 3 a.m. to 11 p.m. When his professor called his alternating current motor an impossible dream, Tesla just smiled. He could already see it spinning. In the dead of night, he played with high voltages and higher stakes. He knew Edison's direct current was weak, a dying flame. Tesla wanted the world to breathe in alternating current. While his peers planned careers, Tesla planned the electrification of the globe. He saw a world not divided by borders, but connected by copper. Then, in a park in Budapest, it happened. While reciting poetry, the puzzle clicked. He drew the diagram in the sand with a stick, the heart of the modern world, born in the dirt. He knew once this motor started spinning, the old world would stop. He was no longer just an inventor. He was a threat to the established order. In Paris, he fixed Edison's broken dynamos, saving the reputation of a man who didn't even know his name. He was a king, serving a peasant. He carried a letter to Edison. It said, "I know two great men. One is you, and the other is this young man." He crossed the Atlantic with a mind full of stars. New York, 1884. A chaotic web of wires. Tesla walked through the mud, ignored by the masses, carrying the secret to their future in his coat pocket. When he stood before Edison, the air turned thick. It was the meeting of the hammer and the lightning bolt. Edison gave him an impossible task. Tesla didn't sleep. For 24 hours, he lived inside the machines, proving his worth in blood and steel. But the reward was a lie. Edison laughed in his face. In that moment, the bridge was burned. Tesla realized Edison didn't want to change the world. He wanted to own it. For a year, the man who designed the future dug ditches for the present. Every shovel of dirt was fueled by the memory of Edison's laugh. But genius cannot be buried. Investors saw the fire in the eyes of the man in the trench. They gave him a lab and a chance to build the impossible. George Westinghouse was the only man with the courage to back the dream. They weren't selling a product. They were selling a new way for civilization to breathe. The lines were drawn. Edison and his billions against Tesla and his truth. The war of the currents was about to begin. The air in New York smells like burning ozone and corporate blood. Edison has declared a scorched earth crusade. This is a public execution of an idea. Edison calls it a killer. Tesla calls it art. He steps onto a pedestal and lets 250,000 volts scream through his veins. He doesn't die. He glows. He becomes the light he promised. Chicago, 1893. The president hits the switch, and 100,000 lamps turn the night into day. The White City explodes into a galaxy of light, seen from the heavens. The DC Empire turned to dust. The Wizard of Menlo Park had been out-magicked by a man with no shoes and a pocket full of equations. Niagara Falls. While others saw water, Tesla saw a liquid battery. He didn't just build a machine. He built a heart for the nation. Buffalo, New York. The streetcars begin to move without horses. The grid is born, the invisible web that keeps your world from collapsing. Tesla retreats into a lab that looks like a portal to another dimension. He begins playing with cold light and X-rays. He is moving so fast. Science is starting to feel fear. Colorado Springs, 1899. Amidst the static of the atmosphere, he hears a pulse, a signal. He claims it's a message from Mars. The world calls him a lunatic, but he was just the only one. Listening, he built a device that could vibrate a skyscraper into the ground. He had learned to play the resonance of the earth, like a piano. He saw you. He described a vest pocket device to send images across the ocean. He wasn't predicting the future. He was building the invitation. He wanted to give it all away. Free energy for every man, woman, and child. A world without wires, where the earth itself provided the power. 187 feet of steel and wood. Tesla poured every penny he had into Wardenclyffe. He was gambling his entire legacy on a single, impossible idea. J.P. Morgan asked, "If anyone can pull power from the ground, where do I put the meter?" The world's greatest dream was killed by a ledger. Tesla activated the tower one last time. The sky over Long Island turned into a theater of fire. It was his final, beautiful dice scream. Against the dying of the light, the tower was sold for scrap. The man who wanted to give the world the stars was left with nothing but his memories. The government began to watch him. They feared his death ray. Even an old, broken Tesla was more dangerous than an army. He moved from hotel to hotel, a recluse. He claimed the pigeons understood his theories better than any Nobel committee ever could. He loved a white pigeon, as a man loves a woman. When she died, he said the light went out of his life, and it would never return. In his 80s, his hands trembled. But his mind never stopped. He filled thousands of pages with theories on time and the fabric of space. He didn't fear death. To Tesla, it was just a change in frequency. He had spent his life studying the unseen. Now, he was joining it. January 7th, 1943. The New Yorker Hotel. A "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. The man who lit the world passed away in his sleep, alone. Hours later, the FBI arrived. They seized every notebook. They knew even a dead Tesla held secrets that could change the balance of the world for decades. His name was erased. They gave credit to Marconi. They gave credit to Edison. But you cannot hide the sun forever in the 21st century. Tesla returned as a symbol for the dreamers, for the outcasts who care more about the future than the profit. Every time you flip a switch, you are shaking hands with Nikola Tesla. Every time you use Wi-Fi, you are walking through his dreams. He taught us, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Somewhere, in the frequency of the stars, the boy from Smiljan is still watching the lightning, still dreaming of a world that is clean and free. The wireless world he envisioned is still being built. We are the inheritors of his spark. What will you do with the light, Nikola Tesla, the man who saw the future and built it, the man who lit the world? The spark is eternal. This is Rise Daily.